Ah, finally, my masterpiece. If only there was a way to share this with the world. So, with an algorithm, you feed a site data. The site then like follows a list of instructions depending on how you interact with it. So like if you like a post of dogs, it'll then just begin to start showing you dogs every single time you go there. And then if you start ignoring the dogs, it'll be like it'll pick up on that and it will stop showing you dogs because it's like you're not engaging with this. Algorithms, I think, tend to have a problem with showing you what you don't want to see. So, for example, something particularly that might make you a bit nauseous. Some people will interact with that. They might comment, they might say, "This makes me nauseous. I don't like seeing a snake devour a rabbit." But the algorithm sees you commenting, that's all it really sees. They see any form of engagement as good engagement, and they really, really like to rile people up. And the more people will use the app, the better.
Giving their algorithm the reasonable goal of increase watch time. But that has a few problems, because there's no way for a computer to determine quality or truth, at least not yet. The system doesn't understand context, it can't tell the difference between actual reliable information and unhinged paranoid conspiracy clickbait.
And I think that's why social media has a problem with showing people bad things or using the algorithm in negative ways.
Also, I'm pretty sure TikTok has been it's been proven that TikTok like actively dislike something, it's going to show you more stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because
like
you're saying it's engagement.
Specifically TikTok. And like for example, this is kind of depressing, but there was I remember, I don't know if it was like 2020, something like that. A teenager either went live or he didn't post it, and he committed suicide on TikTok. And because people were engaging with it, it went viral-ish. And I think it took like a day or something. TikTok, they got into a big thing about it, but it was clear that TikTok they were aware that it was existing, and they didn't take it down for a long while. They never explain why, but this has happened like a bunch of times. This was just like a specific case that I read about, and then over time, hearing that happens quite a lot. I don't use TikTok at all anymore. I think a lot of people still do. And I'm sure that if you start to realize these things, you'll start to notice it like I do in my own feed, where you're really not interested in seeing stuff like, I don't know, racial hate. And you'll notice that it just keeps showing you that. Like, YouTube knows that I'm black, and it targets you. And that just feels really uncomfortable to realize that it's actively choosing to show you racism and stuff like that. When interviewing filmmaking student Ralph Martin, he brought up an interesting point on the stressful impact of social media.
The worth of what you've created is dictated by, however many people see it or like it or whatever. And just the feeling of constantly needing to be on it and refreshing it and looking for other people's approval on things.
I do believe that there are some pros to the algorithm, so it'll funnel your art towards people who, to the algorithm, want to see art like yours. It'll pick up on all the minute details, and a really good example of that is Pinterest, which is just crazy good at analyzing such specific details about what you want, and you probably wouldn't know that until You check out somebody else's Pinterest and you'll see stuff that you never even would have realized is there. Even if it's like a similar thing that you like, it's just that little bit different because the algorithm knows how different that is. Those people who are posting that art, the algorithm looks at it and it immediately will show it to somebody who they know is going to like your art in a way that's really, really good for exposure and money and consistency. The thing that I don't like about short form or scroll content is that it decides what it wants to show you instead of, for example, YouTube videos where you see the title, you see the thumbnail, you decide if you want to click on it. And I think with TikTok or in YouTube Shorts, as it's called, you can more easily see something that you didn't want to see. The problem with scroll content constantly showing you things, whether or not you would have wanted to have seen it, whether or not you should have seen it, is that it's very easy to get addicted to. It's very easy to just want to keep scrolling, whether or not, it panics you, you want to keep going back to that, you want to find something that you liked again. It's constantly putting you through, I like this, what is this? I didn't like that, please bring me back to something good, okay, something good again, and you're stuck in a loop. For some people it could even just be constant good things, and even then it's like, why would you want to stop doing something if your attention is constantly grabbed? It really, really conditions you to only keep seeing what you like, and therefore you miss out the opportunity of seeing diversity, you miss out on the opportunity of seeing something you never would have considered, and it means that a lot of people stay in their box. In comparison to the past, I wanted to talk about whether or not it's easier or harder to be seen. And I think that things like networking and connections are just forever going to be important because, human connection is 100% needed for everything. Which, sure, it's kind of made easier with Instagram where you don't have to be seen. You can do things in your own time, almost. If you're not ready to, talk to somebody, you're not ready to, go to a networking event, you don't have to. You could do something else instead to build up that connection or networking path. But in the past, and even now, it's always going to be important. Networking was much more not life or death, but in the past, that's the most important thing. You have to know people who know people, and the reason why I compare it like that is because I think that now, with social media, with algorithms that are showing people's work who want to see it, someone could gain a successful career without any industry help at all, and just the audience and the artist. I think that taking a look into utilizing social media for art and expression and, even just to compile your work is really important and definitely worth it. Even if you don't know exactly what you're doing, even if you're not trying to be seen. I think there's the popularized term of being a slave to the algorithm, but I just think that that's a really bad way to look at it. I don't think you should be slaving to the algorithm. It should be you doing what you like, and if things come along with it, that's great. You can just use it to create your portfolio, and you can use it to show to people, because there's so many different ways to structure your work and how it's being seen. In conclusion, I think that social media does make it easier to be seen as an artist when you compare it to the past. However, I find that the negative side of social media ruins the usefulness that it brings to artists.